Hello and welcome to my channel, Emma Mentel, health and wellness practitioner. And if you're new on here, thank you for watching. Please subscribe and please comment or share any of the videos that you find helpful or supportive. So as you would have noticed, I've spent a few sessions in a cold ice bath environment this week as part of my wellness journey, and I have decided to record this experience. And you might wonder what this has to do with health, and I have been pleasantly surprised with the experience so far, and I thought I would just tell you a bit more about the benefits of cold water or ice bath immersion. I've been very curious about the Wim Hof principles over the years, especially his breathing techniques and how he seems to coach his clients or groups of people to be able to really take that plunge without seemingly being negatively affected. I do enjoy the feeling of cold water, and I have been for some time using cold showers, but where I live in Durban, South Africa, it seldom gets really cold, so it's not really that much of a shock to have a cold shower, especially in our summers, which are extremely hot and humid. So this week, with the company of a friend and then by invitation from somebody else, I've decided to record my ice baths and my cold water immersions, and to then just see how it feels throughout the day. Some of the benefits that I have read about and that have been recorded by several researchers and people like Andrew Huberman, Wim Hof, suggest that there are several and numerous incredible benefits to this deliberate cold water exposure or cold exposure. One of the main aspects that I think for me has been hugely beneficial is the benefit of improved resilience. And I really resonate with that a lot. So it's almost as if we train the body to move through a challenge that much easier if we do something like this kind of stress on the body regularly and frequently. I also think a part of the reason why my body has adapted so easily and so well is because of my fasting experience. So my body has learned over years, and especially over the last 18 months, that long fasts are not a real threat to my body, my well-being, or my survival. And another important note to mention is that I have really embraced these experiences. So even though right before you get into the cold water, there's some resistance where your body goes, oh my gosh, this is gonna kill me. But by actually becoming quite calm and by embracing this uncertainty as well as this discomfort, it seems to really support how the body adapts and adjusts. So for me, I think improved resilience has been a wonderful benefit and something I would like to continue to add as part of supporting my nervous system, supporting my immune system, and supporting my well-being overall. The second big benefit that I have experienced, not just this week, but also previously when I have done some cold water immersion in Cape Town recently. The water there can be really cold, and I really enjoyed it. And then afterwards experienced a massive improvement in my mood. So I started looking at what brings this about. And we see that the neurotransmitters that are improved and elevated after something like cold water immersion or ice bath are dopamine and epinephrine. And those are particularly relevant in the areas of something like ADHD or anxiety. So I have noticed very specifically this uplifted mood for the rest of the day, certainly for many hours afterwards, as well as a sense of focus. It's like I can get down to my to-do list and then complete the tasks without feeling distracted all the time. Dopamine, certainly, when we have this increased dopamine levels, it helps us to concentrate better without distraction. So that has been noted in some of the articles that I have read. They mention that there can be up to 250% increase in dopamine post cold water exposure or ice bath, cold water immersion. And that certainly contributes to the sense of a positive mood, a sense of feeling uplifted and focused. And I know that it was mentioned in one of the celebrities' comments that it's brutal but uplifting. And I think that's a very accurate way of describing it. Even though it feels brutal at the time, it also feels uplifting for hours after. I feel also very invigorated, and it seems to really play a big role in handling stress a lot better. So that for me is a very good reason to continue with that. As part of my big curiosity and passion around insulin resistance, that was the third point that I felt would be a real good reason to experiment with this. Because cold water exposure over time helps to activate the brown fat in the body, and that's a different kind of fat that is very much involved in keeping us warm and in insulating us. And because it helps to stimulate the brown fat, it really helps to regulate blood sugar better. What was interesting for me is that I tested my blood glucose before an ice bath yesterday, and again immediately after. It didn't immediately drop the blood glucose, but in the half an hour afterwards, it seemed to decrease. So I think over time it will be a really good tool to use overall. And what I definitely noticed was that there was less hunger. Surprisingly, because we almost associate as being in water, or especially being in cold water, as something that would stimulate hunger. For me, it had probably the opposite effect. And I think it has to do with the dopamine and the overall benefit, all the other factors as well. They also mention that it is beneficial for the immune system over time, and I can understand that mechanism, but I wouldn't advise somebody who has a very compromised immune system or somebody who's full of flu and feeling really unwell to be adding this. That might just be too much of a stress on the body, and it might actually have the opposite effect. But over time, for somebody who is resilient and for somebody who feels well, there is an immune benefit, definitely. The fifth and my number 5 reason and a benefit that I would like to mention, and something that has really encouraged me to continue to use this, is the reduction in inflammation. So there's a huge benefit in reducing the pro-inflammatory markers in the body by what is said to be up to 50%. And there is also an increase of the anti-inflammatory markers by up to 200%. And that is, I think, what was mentioned by Wim Hof as well in his research. And that alone is an incredibly good reason to try something like this cold water immersion. So it is about deliberate cold exposure. And even if you start small, maybe switching the shower onto just the cold tap after your shower, just a few minutes of very intentional and deliberate deep breaths. And even if it feels uncomfortable, to try to calm your body down, to reassure your body that everything is fine and that everything is going to be fine. So start small, maybe just with a few minutes of a cold shower, and then see if you can progress from there. There are so many options now of ice tubs or chest freezers that have been converted into ice baths. And I was invited this morning to also experience the igloo therapy, which was amazing. Only 5 minutes is really necessary, and the temperature was about 7 to 8 degrees, which was a little bit lower than earlier in the week, and some of the videos that I've posted where the temperature was between 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. I did stay in longer in those because my body really adjusted and adapted well, and I enjoyed the experience. In this morning's ice bath or cold water immersion, I felt that my hands got really cold at some point. Not painful, no burning as such, but I could just feel that the circulation was really bad in my hands. So I decided to take my hands out of the water. My feet were fine. And then getting dry with a towel, it was very, very quickly that my temperature felt fine. My skin got quite red for a few minutes, and then that subsided as well. So for me this week, the cold water immersion and the ice baths have been part of my approach to well-being. It's not a cure-all for everything. It's not a standalone tool, but it can form part of the various aspects of approaching your health and well-being, and perhaps giving you that uplifted feeling, that sense of focus and concentration that might motivate you to take a few further steps. Please comment if you've enjoyed the videos, if you've done ice baths yourself, and also if you have any other questions. And thank you for watching. I will update with a few other videos soon.